Who's going to be the Batman Part 2 villain? And will we even find out before we're sitting in the seat? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today. But before we figure out who the villain is, let's figure out all the details. Starting at the top, Kristen Milotti, Zoe Kravitz are both not going to be in the movie. According to Zoe Kravitz's team and according to Kristen Milotti, and Matt Reeves himself, they were too far into the script. By the time the Penguin 2 came through, she just wasn't in it. But hey, she got her props, and hopefully there'll be a Penguin season 2, right? Matt Reeves says that this character, this villain that we see, hasn't been done in live action, in a movie at all, really. Hasn't been done in Batman. So that narrows out so many people that I have a list. Catwoman, Joker, Penguin, Two-Face, Riddler, Mr. Freeze, Bane, Poison Ivy, Ra's al Ghul, Falcone, The Calculator, Talia al Ghul, Deadshot, Deathstroke, Harley Quinn, Man-Bat, Azrael. Yeah, pretty extensive. Oh, Clayface, pretty extensive list of people that we can't have in the film, right? So who can we have? Now, before I get into that, I want to make two statements. The first one is that Matt Reeves claimed that the corruption, Batman is experiencing in this and that's going on in this is something that Batman couldn't even imagine within the first film, right? So let's keep that in mind. I have a theory about that. And the things that this film does for Bruce's and Batman's character has never been done in this way before. Is a direct quote from Matt Reeves or something along the lines of that. I'll show it right here. Now that we know the details, let's start theorizing. Bottom of the list that I'm not really going to get too much into, but is a possibility, is Professor Pig. Because I just don't know how they would fit in a story that would mean more with him than it would with these other characters that I'm going to start spitballing. I'm also not going to speak too much on number 4 because I actually don't know too much about this character, but the Mad Hatter has never been really fully visioned in mostly anything, but I really think that cool Alice in Wonderland, that little gang of people that he brings with him really can really do something special in the Batman Part 2. I'm not sure exactly what his motive would be or what the story for that would be, but I can see Matt Reeves doing a little something with that. Now we're getting into the ones where I actually sort of have mini theories formulated and the ones that I think most likely are going to be in the movie. Number 3, we probably got the number 1 rumor right now is Hush, because not only in the first movie, did they hint at it, Martha's past, and then literally put name dropping right here in the first movie. I can see the way they could do this, they don't have to do much to set up Thomas Elliot, really. They just have to bring the Elliots in. We don't want an origin story, okay? That's why the Batman started off how it is. However, if they could sort of do 5-minute scene, which is a quick comparison between the childhood of Thomas Elliot and Bruce Wayne, and about how they were friends, and then he slowly grew to resent Bruce because of his abusive father and his mother that was just content, kind of cut the brake line and attempted to off them both, but his mother survived and he eventually also offed her, was a neurosurgeon, made himself into Bruce Wayne. It would be a really cool and interesting story. It would also get Rob not only just to be sitting here playing Batman, but to be playing Bruce and to see, the side effects of putting on, either mask. Number 2 is Hugo Strange, and the reason why he's actually so high on this list, A, he obviously hasn't been done in live action, but B, there was, I'll show it up here, back in 2023, 2024, they were working on an Arkham Asylum show, right? And it got canceled in July of last year. Obviously, they didn't have the full script for the movie done by then, but I would assume by then they would have the idea that, maybe in the Batman 2, we can do Hugo Strange. And if they're going to do Hugo Strange in the Batman Part 2, it doesn't really make sense to make an Arkham Asylum series. Well, obviously, it still would make sense to make an Arkham Asylum series, if you weren't going to go down the Hugo Strange path. However, I feel like instead of just making that show, they probably adapted it into the movie and adapted some aspects if they were to go down this route. Not to mention, Matt Reeves did say that the corruption experience in this movie is something that Batman couldn't even imagine in the first film. The Waynes literally, built up Arkham. The Wayne, he was visiting Arkham multiple times within this movie. And to find out that Hugo Strange has been just operating throughout here, for 1. For 2, knows his identity. And 3, is just releasing, he could be releasing people from Arkham just to go after him. They could be doing so many, they could do so much shit. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, if it was Hugo Strange, this also could tie into Hush. Now stay with me, right? Instead of Hush being the main villain, right? We use Hush in the beginning of the movie, and he's going around, just ending people, or going after some of Batman's rogues gallery, something of the sort. Obviously, I don't think he'll be going after the rogues gallery, especially Penguin, because he did sign up for 3 movies, but we don't know if there will be a third movie at this point. But what if Hugo is the one who sends out Hush? And really, what if Thomas Elliot got sent to Arkham because he got caught for, scheming his parents' murder, right? And Hugo decided, hey, I could use that. And they take some aspects from the comics, such as the facial reconstruction for him to look like Bruce, and he sends him on this party, this murder spree, where he decides to go through Gotham and just go after some of the rogues, end them. And then eventually, this leads Batman to be following his trail up until about the midpoint throughout the movie where Hush reveals that his face is the same as the Batman's, but that doesn't make sense. And then at some point from there, they bridge over to Arkham and they meet Hugo. And it could be this huge reveal. They don't even have to show Hugo in the trailers, They could just market this movie around being Hush, And then even the haters who hate the movie will be like, hold on, let me go see it because I hate Hush. And then they're in the movie, and then all of a sudden, this guy's dead, or this guy's back in Arkham, or this guy's not even a big threat, you know? And then this last one, obviously, you guessed it by this time, all right? It's the Court of Owls. And I'm not saying this is the one I want the most. I think this is the most likely. All right, from Batman and Bruce, being done how they were never done before, being shown how they were never shown before. The corruption, corruption is key word, because the Court of Owls is a group of the wealthiest people in Gotham that are pulling the strings from the underground. That's some pretty insane corruption, don't you think? And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think the Court of Owls have been depicted in live action. I mean, obviously they have, but not as like a main villain and not with more than 2 minutes of screen time. And now I know they didn't do too much setup in the first one with the Court of Owls. However, they do have this one scene where it's literally some sculptures of owls in a court, right? And they could do the same fake out strategy that I just mentioned for Hugo. And they don't even have to use Hush for it, right? They could use anybody. They could just throw some people. They could even use the Penguin. They could use Oswald, right? And that could be his few scenes. And then, boom, they pop out of the shadows, or Batman discovers them popping out of the shadows. However, I think that they should be more of a third movie villain. But the way I see it is they sort of introduced Joker in the first one, right? Joker's not a second movie villain, but if they're going to introduce him, obviously they want him to be in as a main villain at some point. He's the ultimate endgame type of deal, right? So I would assume that in the third movie is when they would, have Joker be the big bad. But what if they just don't do a Joker for this universe? I don't know. I'm really torn. There's so much things that could be done, but I just don't see Joker being in the main villain in this next movie. But let me know what y'all think. As we keep receiving more information, more theories keep forming, but I had all this information in my head. I had to jump on here and say, hey, what's my top 5? What do I think is going to go on? If you like the video, make sure you like it, obviously. Follow, repost. If you have your own theories, go ahead and let me know down in the comments below, and I will catch y'all in the next one.